this because I don't ever want to forget one. All right. So thank you everybody for coming to this June 12th Legal Shield and Fieldnotes webinar that we do. I had something, I just kind of came up with something, and so I have something in my head to show you. It's new, it's different. And then again, but also, is there anything that you guys have on topic? Any wants, any haves? Has anybody been testing the new UI? As the days go by, it's getting updated almost daily, if I could say so. It should be working more than ever, right? So less bugs. And so, has anybody had a chance?
I try to play with it, but you know, when I'm trying to pull up my, whatever you want to call them, groups or whatever, it just pulls everything all up. So then I revert back to the old.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So some group issue there. I will definitely pass that along. So let me share my screen. So anything that you guys had.
Gary, I'm just curious, how are you pulling the groups up? Do you have reports that you're pulling up and the reports aren't showing right, or exactly what are you doing?
Yeah, what I do is, you know, in my contacts, I set up reports. So when I go to one of those reports, it just everybody up.
Okay.
Everybody's in it.
So the filters then, Jeremy, are not
taking
hitting right.
Try resetting any of the filters, Gary, to see if it would reset.
No, I just did it right now, and it doesn't look like it's taking any of the filters. I don't think it'll show everybody again.
Yeah.
Business contacts. Let's see if it gives us the 42. Yeah, same 42. So that's good. Definitely good to know. I will run it.
No, that's not good, Jeremy.
It is good to know. And
So
I thank you, and I thank Gary for pointing that out, because otherwise I would have assumed that they have worked. So just one thing I want to report and kind of get them to take a look at. So that's good. Anybody else with anything? No. So
I was in it over the weekend, but I didn't run into any new issues myself. So
I did see an email you sent me, and I am looking into that as well. So I will report back as that comes out. So what I had in question, and this is something, this is from me to you guys, right? So in the lead, I don't know if anybody had thought of this, but besides setting up a follow-up, right? Since let's get into the topic of automating things for ourselves, right? So we know that in these contacts, we have this lead label. Has anybody got creative or thought in their own head, hey, how can I use these lead labels? And so we've got some statuses, right? Appointment, attempt to contact, contacted, dead lead, hot lead, new, no response, not interested, nurture, won. Then we've got timing. And so this is,
go ahead. The only thing I thought about with that, because even if we're a solutions person, we still do some recruiting into solutions. And so since we kind of have it set up for solutions to track our groups and all of that sort of stuff with the system, I thought about using this specifically for recruiting or for team or for whatever, you know, like to follow that into my solutions associates maybe, or my team or something. I haven't done it, but I was looking for a place to separate that out for solutions so I could track either field training or you know, that, and wondering if this might be a way to do that there too. So
well, unless somebody else has something to throw into the pot, my idea was the following. Since we're breaking up all these different categories and giving ourselves, right, hopefully a
Mhm.
little bit more breakdown as to prospecting, servicing, doing a little bit of everything, but these generalize or generally kind of, you can apply this to a group, to anybody. Like, if have you had an appointment with the group? Have you made an attempt to contact? This is kind of like a sales flow, if you may, right, to where the lead is. And then with the timing, it'll help you kind of, if this is somebody that has said to you, okay, so let's say you're selling a lot of small business. The business loves it, but they're so over their heads right now, they're telling you 6 to a year before they can really even look at it. So you don't want to lose these people, right? So obviously you can go set up an appointment, do 1 year, right? But now I'm thinking, based off of this, how do you use this and maybe set up an action plan, right? Based off of this timing
Mhm.
and based off of this status, right? So you can use these in conjunction. So contacted plus 6 months to a, or a year. I know you can use them both, but and I guess you could do an action plan that is 6 months to a year kind of follow up, right? As long as it has these two. The whole point I'm thinking is for you guys to utilize it within your different prospecting. Obviously, it has its application, but then maybe for networking and like Jackie said, associates, but anybody who's on the fence, I think you could definitely use this to kind of help push you along and to categorize and to even look at who's a one so that you could later on calculate, okay, this person I was actually able to convert, nurtures, not interested. Just another way separate to categorize the lead and not have to bring it into too much of uh,
Mhm.
these categories, right? You can actually just make these a little bit more generalized, but then utilize these in conjunction and start categorizing and using these and using the timeline, then build action plans. And so this is just one that I kind of just threw together, but it essentially is 180 days. It's a 6-month TEDS follow-up. This is just an all-day reminder, right? So nothing out of the ordinary with this. And then the trigger plan is lead labels, 6 months, and then contacted. I went ahead and added contact. I need to see how this works, but this is just a forward thought so that if you are categorizing those contacts, you're reaching out to them. And let's say you had a whole series of these based off of, you know, the different combinations of statuses plus timing. As you're checking these boxes and saving this, the action plan is picking up onto those specific, right, duties, and then now setting up an activity for you that will then show up in tasks in 6 months. Or if you wanted to do the additional extra step, you can build in your tone, in your word, right? Maybe like a follow-up email with a text message. Hey, just kind of thinking about you. Have you had any thought? Is now a good time to talk about the business plan from, 6 months ago, or something that starts to engage them. And then you could have that kind of just slowly drip on them. And so now, so now this follow-up is not even something you guys need to even think about. You now just have said it and built this, and now you can see these people within 180 days, 60 days, start to get these communications from you, which all you're going to do is just manage the incoming responses, whether if it's a text message or an email. And then so
Mhm.
now it's just get to work, right? And just kind of follow up. And then let's say if you had, how many of the deals that you get, people tell you, not now, call me in 6 months. Is that something that happens frequently? And if you would, this would be the best pipelining kind of situation to have built for yourself so that you can just categorize people and on to the next one and keep it calling. And then just know that you have each little kind of category and kind of bucket covered. but your
I
thoughts,
I
people?
like that a lot, that it helps you put an activity or an action in place at the moment you're inspired to do so, rather than counting on yourself to remember, oh, yeah, that's right.
You can do
At
that.
such and such a time in the past, you know, I thought, well, I need to do this in 6 months or a year from now. So this gives you the ability to go ahead and, you know, just count that as done. And even if you only get a few, the fact is it's done. So if you get one or two out of a few to come back and respond to things over a period of time, you know, that's a good thing. So
And
I,
so how would you do it to what I said earlier? If you have someone that's looking to become a member, someone that's an HR person or an owner that's looking to bring on a group, or an associate that's like, yeah, I'm going to do this in 6 months, but I need to call me later. You have three different, so you can't send them the same thing, even though you need to call them all in 6 months.
No, well, okay,
So,
so as long as it's broken up in the contact, right? So
okay,
if you have a way to break up, so it's a matter of using the business rules, right?
okay,
To then isolate what kind of contact this is, whether if it be through the referral source, whether it be through a specific category. Let's just take a look at some of the ones that we can.
okay. So if you label them that way, then you'd have different action
Categories in
plans,
which
different action
absolutely
plans for
that
those different ones.
having different talking points and that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Or as Rick said, we can set it up as a reminder to you.
Mhm.
Okay,
But I mean, if you think this out, and if you're just calling people trying to qualify, you're always going to find the not interested. You're not always going to find this. You're always going to find this series of buckets of people.
mhm,
So with these categories, to me, this is great. You know what I mean? Even like you can build stuff for attempt to contacted. So now, you know, this, if you create an action plan that more just reminds you that you've attempted to contact this person. So maybe let's say you give yourself like a 30 days kind of like reminder, you know, so that you're always checking up on this for at least 30 days. But then again, you've got to build your process to it, but utilizing these categories.
mhm,
So like
okay,
when you have a hot lead, right?
mhm,
You know, this is either a way you can build yourself something that's either a report, you can do a report off of this because you can filter from it. Um, you know, or you could have a weekly reminder, anybody that's this, right, is always reminded to you, kind of like um, in your tasks, they'll have like a reminder, you know, follow up with hot, so that you just have all of that. So it's just something to definitely think about, but utilizing the timing so that you can appropriately set the times for these action plans to show up. And if they said 6 months, why not try in 3, right? I don't know how many times people have done sales, but people say, hey man, call me in 6 months. You get to 6 months. And they said, yeah, we went with somebody else months ago. And you were like, well, you told me to, you know what I mean? Like you feel betrayed, right? But maybe if I would have called in just 2 months ago, you know, after, and just checked in, maybe they would have been like, okay, well, you know, hey, maybe now let's talk about it. But somebody else slipped into their DMs and took that one. So it's like, you know, you could definitely categorize, but set up the action plan to maybe start a little bit early. And you can, you know, it's a soft approach. Hey, did you guys get a chance to look? I'm just following up something, you know, just one touch, right? It's all about ways to start those action plans. And then you're already here. If you're calling these people, if you're, you know, putting notes, you might as well do the extra step, set this kind of thing. That way it sets the follow-up, especially if this is business that you're trying to drive in, right? And then for pipelining, you could do this for all your buckets and all your necessities per se, and then have all your, you know, have your whole chessboard covered, you know, and now it's a matter of just calling and finding out what it is, and categorizing, and knowing that you have action plans that are later on setting up that follow-up for you. And so since that's different for everybody, it's just a matter of kind of thinking the moments. And then for like contacted, you know, what happens with contacted? Do you find people once you've contacted kind of just lose out? Like you don't get the second conversation to happen again. You don't get to the proposal. So this could help you kind of once you're labeling people contacted, and if you're utilizing these categories, then you should be able to come up for different types of action plans to help you push that stuff in, and you're never forgetting nobody. And you can once build this out for yourself, you can then really kind of just get to chopping wood when it comes to calling and categorizing, right?
Mhm.
You got a lot of your
It,
follow-ups.
it gives you another level of if then type of logic
Mhm.
that doesn't necessarily show up in any one single action plan. So documenting what you did is obviously going to be important when you do that. But yeah, I mean, it does give you greater flexibility than just any single action plan could do. So
Okay.
definitely like it.
I feel that it's maybe in like an advanced thing, but since like Kathy Lucas, she was kind of moving into I want to get everything automated. Well, this is just another means of automating like your prospect exploration kind of thing, and then people not falling through the cracks. And then if you build it, if it's you doing the follow-up and doing all of that, perfect. Or take the extra step and do your intro email with a nice little text message just to point them to the email. If there's any details that you're trying to remember them or anything like that, just, make it heartfelt, and then you can just build that out. And it's not something that you even have to think about it 6 months from now. It just gets sent out. And then that person's replying back to you off of your action plan, off of your email, thanking you for this, that, maybe talking about the timeline, giving you more details. And if you can do this with, 10, 20 contacts a week, a month, just imagine over time, as you start to set this up, you'll also have this wave of business coming back to you. And it's not something that you went out there and looked for. It's just something that you kind of let the action plan. So if anybody ever wants to have this as a subject or as a topic, feel free to loop me in, right? If you want to do something like this, Rick, if you want to be the first, we can think
the interesting thing that I'm thinking about there is you would want to think about, okay, so I've got this process in place. I've contacted this person. They say, you know what, I like what I see, but let's talk about this in 6 months. So you put one of these plans in place to go ahead and message them. Now, halfway in between, they call you back and say, yeah, let's just go ahead and execute. And then remembering that you had that in place. So 3 months down the road, they get this message to say, hey, have you thought any more about that? Well, we already did this, remember? So that would be the one thing that you would need to kind of account for.
That's not a big deal, Rick.
Thank you.
That's not a
the
big
deal's
deal.
done.
All you do is go, you know what? I got a guy named Jeremy, and he just always doesn't get to the programming I need. Sorry about that.
This bonehead.
There you go.
The
We'll
wheels
take
on the
your
bus.
package and the blame.
My guy Jeremy, he just didn't take care of that. Sorry.
Well,
he messed up again.
The way that I understand the way that the action plan. So if you move I mean, you would have to use this appropriate, right?
Yes, yeah.
So
You would have to go back and
contact.
update it. And...
Right. So he would be a contacted, and then with like, let's just say a 6 months. So if you went ahead and spoke to him and he said, hey, let's do it, then you would have to go to here to one and make sure that it has that. And then the action plan, to my knowledge, should not engage anymore because it doesn't have the necessary right? Categories, right?
Right.
So
Mhm.
that's my logic behind it, but
Yeah.
I can definitely, I want to test this out, see it in real life play.
Yeah,
But
and
I'm
as long as you're keeping up with that, that's what I'm saying is you just need to have that activity where you say, okay, I'm going to go back and look at everybody that falls into this category. So you can say, oh, yeah, Gary already executed on this, so I can take him out of this category now, and then that won't trigger. So
and this comes to like, and where did I come up with this? And so I had recently like a couple of conversations. I remember a sales job that there was this one girl, and it, you know, for the SHRM events that you guys sometimes participate in.
Mhm.
I used to work with a company that it was the head of VP to SHRM and the head of sales, they decided to do their own company. And so they were out here in Costa Rica, and I'm not sure what ad I answered, but that, you know, it brought us all together. And then they said, all right, you're hired. Let's get you on the phone. Now, through the talk, there was a girl that was bringing in about $80,000 to $100,000 a month in tickets sales. She did it strictly through the email. So they fired her, right? And then I was struggling just to bring $30,000 to the table. You know what I mean? A month. So I was like, why are you going to get rid of the girl? She's bringing in 100 grand. You know what I mean? Like, if anybody you got to get rid of is the 30,000 guy, but you know, I'm going to keep quiet because I wanted to keep my job, but they let her go. So what was his logic behind it? His logic was he could have automated emails and he could basically either build the email sequence that she's using, which he kind of did. That's why I don't know if he liked it or not, but that's the low hanging fruit in sales, right? And that's what he didn't want. He didn't want, because he knew that he could automate it and bring that in and he doesn't need to pay that person. What he wanted was true salespeople that would actually open up an account, go into the VP, and then infiltrate and go to all the departments and then get all of our year's worth of, you know, events sold throughout the whole company and even do personal stuff and yada yada. But they wanted that exploration because that's where the next level of business comes. It's not that, you know, oh, here 3 tickets for my marketing team. Well, they also have inclusion, they also have, you know, HR, they've all got many different topics that should appeal to the whole company. So that's why he fired her. But so this is what I say to you guys. Having these things in place is that low hanging fruit. This thing just, you know what I mean? If you're using these appropriately, it should spark those people just to see the information and say, yep, want it. All right, sign me up. And you really don't have to do nothing but just now be there, reply back. And that's what I would say this is for, because there's other business that you will need to focus on. There's other, you know, accounts that you're going to have to put in a little bit more extra love. But there's always going to be, you know, that percentage of companies that are like, yep, makes sense. Sign me up. Don't even need to think about it. Send me the paperwork. And that's where you just have to basically move forward. And then obviously make sure that you don't have this person getting any more emails. Get them on a different action plan, like a retention one. But and you could even do that there with Juan. You could use Juan now as a means of triggering, you know, just a consistent follow up or for holiday things or stuff like that, right? But so that is what I had for you guys today.
Good stuff.
I
Had
hope
nothing to do with the suite that she wanted in Dubai. Is it? They didn't fire her because of that. Then
the Sweden, what, the Dubai, what was, say that again?
Yeah, the girl that they fired,
Uh-huh.
100 grand producer.
Yes.
Well, it wasn't her demands for a suite in Dubai that she
No,
was asking for, huh?
no, it was
Okay, good.
just the logic behind the whole kind of why he would move people out. And
There you
you know,
go.
so no outlandish demands, but it was just it's just a way of thinking about it, right? When it comes to that. And this is that, because you can build an action plan to speak for you, to sell your plan, to inform, and they wouldn't know any different, right? Depending on how you write it. So just keep that in mind, that you could utilize this. It's a matter. And then once you get to that level, Now it's a matter of just throwing leads into the CRM, calling, categorizing, and now just spinning the wheel and letting this, you know, kind of be your little gold mine sifter kind of thing. So, yes,
Good
Good
indeed.
stuff. Good stuff.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
All righty, everybody. Well, if anybody doesn't have any questions, I apologize. We didn't see much of the new, but thank you, Gary, for your suggestion or your insight. That was good. I will send that along. And then, so I guess, good talking to everybody, and you guys take care. We'll be
Yeah.
seeing you next Thursday.
Jeremy, can you hang
Sure.
on for a second?
Absolutely, I can.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye,
you.
everybody. Bye-bye.